Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Prachadyadeshatarini Sita Narayanam namaskrityam naram shaiva narotamam Divyam saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraya Vedi ramayane shaiva purane bharate tata Adavande cha madhye cha hari sarvatra giyate Mukam karodi vachalam pangum langayate girim Yat kripatamaham vande shri gurum dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam. This is a traditional song that they sing in the villages of Orissa before they recite Srimad Bhagavatam. I don't think you can go and play it. Paramananda Madhavam Padmaruchi Makaranda Semakaranda Panakori Hari Vastavamadyavastu Shivadam Tapachayo Mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Kate Kimba Parayashara Sadyo Hridyavarudate Chukuturi Shushu Shubhistakshana Nigamakolpataro Galitam Bhavam Shukamukharamitra Gavasamritam Pivata Bhagavatam Nasamalayam Mohorohora Sikabhuri Bahuka Anarto Pasamam Sakshat Bhakti Yogam Madhoksuje Lokasya Janato Vidmam Shakresya Bhakti Samhitam Yashyam Vaishyamanayam Krishna Padama Purushe Bhakti Ruppadyate Pumsa Shokamoha Bhayapaha Srimad Bhagavatam Puranamamalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam Yasmin Paramahamsamekamalam Gyanam Padam Giyate Tatra Gyana Vairagya Bhakti Sahitam Naiskanam Avishkitam Tashchindam Supatam Vichalana Pado Bhakti Avamochandaraha Artoyam Brahma Sutranam Bharatata Vinaya Gayatri Vasharupa Sovidartha Parivinita Saiva Vediti Hasanam Sharam Sadam Smudikam Saiva Vedanta Sadam Srimad Bhagavatam Ishyate Tadrasamita Chitta Shanam Yatisya Ruchi Kuchit Krishna Bhakti Rasa Swarup Shri Bhagavatam Tate Vedam Shastra Vaite Paramahata Chari Vedopanishade Jata Kichu Hoya Tara Alta Vyasa Horila Sanchaya Jiri Sutenjiru Ishaya Vachana Bhagavati Seru Slokami Bandana Jira Nistaravagi Sitya Koilo Vyasa Mayavadi Mashushunile Hoyasana Jaho Bhagavata Pada Vaishnavera Ashrane Ekanda Shayakara Chaitanya Charane Bhagavata Jnamane Sejavana Sama Tada Sasta Achijame Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya 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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam, King of all literature, Canto 7, Canto 9, Chapter 10, text number 1. I'll read a few of the slokas and we'll just read the English translations. Shri Sukuvacha, Kankmangad, Dirgabhahuscha, Ragus Tasmat Pritushavaha, Ajastato Maharajastasmad Dasarato Bhavat. Sukadeva Goswami said the son of Maharaj Katvanga was Dirgabahu and his son was the celebrated Maharaj Raghu. From Maharaj Raghu came Ajja, and from Ajja was born the great personality Maharaj Dasarath. Text 2. Being prayed for by the demigods, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Absolute Truth Himself, directly appeared with His expansion and expansions of the expansion. Their holy names were Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrughna. These celebrated incarnations thus appeared in 4 forms as the sons of Maharaj Dasarath. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Ramachandra and his brothers, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrughna, are all Vishnu Tattva, not Jiva Tattva. The Supreme Personality of Godhead expands into many, many forms, Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadam, Ananta Rupam, Brahma Samhita 5:33. Although they are one and the same, Vishnu Tattva has many forms and incarnations, as confirmed in the Brahma Samhita 5:39, Ramari Murti Sukalani Amena Tishtan. The Lord is situated in many forms, such as Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrughna, and these forms may exist in any part of his creation. All these forms exist permanently, eternally, as individual personalities of Godhead, and they resemble many candles, all equally powerful. Lord Ramachandra, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrughna, who being Vishnu Tattva, are all equally powerful, became the sons of Maharaj Dasarath in response to prayers by the demigods. Can you hear okay back there? The speaker's better? It's a little funny with the echo.
Okay.
It's okay?
I can start.
Maharaj Dasarath, he had 360 queens. Would you like that? It might be a little complicated. He had 360 queens, but he had no sons. And he was lamenting so much, wanting to have a son. One day, while he was out hunting in the forest, he met a king who was a friend of his, and that king had a very, very beautiful daughter, whose name was Kaikeyi. And Maharaj Dasarath, he requested his friend, you should let me please marry your daughter. I like her very much. And his friend said, okay, you can do that, but I want one thing, that her son should be the heir to your throne. That son should become the king after you. And Maharaj Dasarath, he said, anyway, what's the problem? I don't have any sons. Sure, that's just fine. So many years went by, and still Dasarath Maharaj had no sons. He was getting very old. And finally, Vishishta Muni, his advisor, he told him that you should do the Putresti Yagya, and that you should engage one rishi named Shringi Rishi, and that's a whole long story. And so they did that yagya, and Agni Dev personally came, and he brought some sweet rice, and he gave that to Maharaj Dasarath, and he told him that you can give this to whatever leading queen that you like, and by taking this sweet rice, she'll get a son. So he divided it into 2 portions, and he gave half to Kaushalya, his senior wife, and he gave half to Kaikeyi, his favorite wife. And Kaushalya and Kaikeyi felt sorry for Sumitra, their dear friend, who's a co-wife, and so they each divided their portions of another half, and they gave that to Sumitra. So from Kaushalya was born Lord Ramachandra, and from Kaikeyi was born Bharat, and from Sumitra was born Lakshman and Shatrughna. And as Srila Prabhupada is describing here, each one of these are all Vishnu Tattva, they're all absolute personalities of Godhead. Sometimes we become a little confused about this, especially in the West. How is it that this is God, but not really God, or maybe he's just a part of God? The example is used of the moon. When the Purnima is there, the moon is full. It's not that if there's only an Ardha Chandra, a half moon, that you say, oh, that's not really the moon. That's also the moon, but the potency is not the same. So Krishna, he's Purna Avatar. He's a complete, he's the source, he's Avatari, the source of all different incarnations, Ramadi, Murti, Sukalani, Amena, Tistan. as Srila Prabhupada is quoting in his purport from Brahma Samhita, that he's the source of Lord Ramachandra. He's the source of all different incarnations who are partial manifestations of the Lord. So there's a purport to this appearance of Lord Ramachandra that when the Lord or his manifestations come, they don't come via some ordinary worldly persons. And we see in this pastime that they were brought to this sweet rice through the medium of Agni Dev, a very powerful Devata. And through that sweet rice, Lord Ramachandra appeared in this world. So I'll read a little bit more. Text number 3. O King Parikshit, the transcendental activities of Lord Ramachandra have been described by great saintly persons who have seen the truth. Because you have heard again and again about Lord Ramachandra, the husband of Mother Sita, I shall describe these activities only in brief. Please listen. Prabhupada writes in the purport, modern Rakshasas, posing as educationally advanced merely because they have doctorates, have tried to prove that Lord Ramachandra is not the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but an ordinary person. We just heard recently about one big politician in Orissa, and he was telling some Vaishnava, he was telling him that Lord Ramachandra became very depressed when he was banished to the forest, and so he committed suicide. Some complete, gross, terrible speculation. People are so foolish in this day and age, they don't even know the background they come from. And even politicians, you'd think politicians would know something about Lord Ramachandra especially. He's the ideal king. Maybe they don't know about Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that's a little higher, more difficult, but at least Lord Ramachandra. But this age is so very, very unfortunate that people are no longer interested in hearing the histories, in hearing Ramayana, in hearing Mahabharata, Srimad Bhagavatam. So, Srila Prabhupada goes on to describe. Modern Rakshasas posing as educationally advanced merely because they have doctorates have tried to prove that Lord Ramachandra is not the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but an ordinary person. But those who are learned and spiritually advanced will never accept such notions. They will accept the descriptions of Lord Ramachandra and his activities only as presented by Tattvadarshis, those who know the absolute truth. This is our system. We hear this Duistani Bhagavat. It's said in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's 2 Bhagavats. Grantha Bhagavat, the book Bhagavat, or Krishna Kripa Patra, and the Bhakta Bhagavat. And Srila Prabhupada repeatedly stresses that if we want to read the Grantha Bhagavat, we have to go through the Bhakta Bhagavat. And therefore Srila Prabhupada gave us a system in our society. Every day we should come together and have Srimad Bhagavatam class. We should hear from devotees. And Prabhupada makes this point here in this purport. He says, the Bhagavad Gita 4:34, the Supreme Personality of Godhead advises Tadvidi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya Upadeksha Vichedyanam Gyaninas Tattvadarshina. Quote, just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he's seen the truth. Unless one is Tattvadarshi, in complete knowledge of the absolute truth, one cannot describe the activities of the personality of Godhead. Therefore, although there are many so-called Ramayans or histories of Lord Ramachandra's activities, some of them are not actually authoritative. Sometimes Lord Ramachandra's activities are described in terms of one's own imagination, speculations, or material sentiments. But the characteristics of Lord Ramachandra should not be handled as something imaginary. This is a very interesting subject, and it's a little controversial, especially in our Indian community, sometimes because there's so many devotees who love Ramcharit Manas. Practically that's the most popular book in India. And sometimes ISKCON devotees, they take one letter that Srila Prabhupada wrote in 1968 to a brand new Videshi devotee who couldn't read Hindi or Maithili. And he was reading an English translation translated by some Mayavadi of Ramcharit Manas. And Prabhupada told him, you should not read this. This book is, Ramcharit Manas has some Mayavad in it. And so devotees take that to mean that Ramcharit Manas is like Mayavad. But repeatedly throughout the book, Tulsidas has again and again defeated Mayavad philosophy. If you read Ramcharit Manas, the very last chapter is all about why the Mayavad conception is totally wrong, and why the personal conception is the highest one. And Srila Prabhupada, although he spoke like that, dozens of times Srila Prabhupada quoted Ramcharit Manas in his classes. And even once he gave class on Ramcharit Manas in someone's house. And Srila Prabhupada said things in letters like, Tulsidas is a pure devotee, and Ramcharit Manas is the best book that was ever written in Hindi. So what does Srila Prabhupada mean here in his purport? He says that there are many so-called Ramayans, or histories of Lord Ramachandra's activities. Some of them are not actually authoritative. It's interesting to note, how many of you have heard the story about Ravan trying to build a staircase to heaven? Has anybody heard that story? Raise your hand. Where did you hear that story from? Do you know? I can tell you.
Ramayan class.
You heard it from Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada quoted it. But it's not found in Valmiki Ramayana. Rather, it's found in Kritibas Ramayana. Kritibas Ramayana is a Bengali version, written by a sage named Kritibas. It's his version of Ramayana. And that book was actually spoken about by Srila Prabhupada in several different ways. For example, Srila Prabhupada, he spoke about Mahiravan. Have you heard of Mahiravan before? Mahiravan is also not mentioned, but Mahiravan is the uncle of Ravan. And again, he's not mentioned either in Valmiki Ramayana, but he is mentioned, he is described in the Kritibas Ramayana. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also referred to that. But our acharyas have said that although there's so many different Ramayans, we quote Valmiki as authority. This is Srila Prabhupada's main point here. But it doesn't mean that any of these other Ramayans are necessarily totally wrong. But we can see them in some cases maybe they have a different mood that we don't appreciate. But in some cases, like scholars have pointed out in the case of Tulsidas, that pretty much everything that he writes in Ramcharit Manas is from different Puranas. It wasn't his speculation, although what he says is different than Valmiki Ramayana. And he gives some purport to it, through different Puranas and things. He gives some different purport that we can see from some different angle. So many, many different pastimes are there in Ram Leela. I'd like to just touch on a few and give some purport to them, things that because I think everyone here pretty much knows about Ram Leela, but we should think about it in a deep way. One thing that disturbed me very much when I first read Ram Leela, I read the Ramayana maybe 5 or 6 times in a row. It's an English translation of Valmiki's Ramayana. And after the first or second time, I stopped reading the section about Manthara and about Kaikeyi having Ramachandra banished to the forest, because it caused great pain in my heart. Until some years ago, we came across a very rare book in Bengali script with a Gaudiya commentary on Ramayana. And in there, it gives some explanation, very nice explanation of this pastime. Because you see, this pastime always disturbed me because, according to our acharyas, Kaikeyi had even more love than Kausalya for Ram. So how is it that this servant woman, this Manthara, is going to corrupt her mind? Now some people have suggested, there's this famous Ramayana video series, that Saraswati Devi, she came and she empowered Manthara and she bewildered Kaikeyi, so that Kaikeyi would make this demand from Dasarath that your son Ramachandra should go to the forest and my son Bharat should become the next king. But again, I found that very, very unsatisfying, to say the least. Because then what you're saying is that some mundane demigod is more powerful than the Lord's eternal associates. Because Kaikeyi is an eternal associate of the Lord. And the Saraswati in this material universe, she's more powerful than Kaikeyi? No, we can't accept that. From some perspectives, some people may say that, some Puranas may say something like that, but in terms of our Gaudiya Siddhanta, We're not happy with that at all. So another explanation has been given that Kaikeyi, she was the youngest and the most beautiful of all of Dasarath's wives, and she was a very romantic young lady. And Kaikeyi, she was very unhappy. She was very, very happy, I should say, in the beginning, that when Lord Ramachandra married Sita and he returned to Ayodhya. But then very quickly that happiness became mixed with some sadness, because she saw that Sita and Ram, they had such a wonderful love for each other, but they're just stuck in the palace. And whenever they enter into a room, then someone blows a trumpet and says, the Yuvaraj, Ramachandra is now coming, and they're always surrounded by so many servants and different people. And Kaikeyi was thinking to herself, this is not good. This is not good for a relationship. They should be able to wander together in a lonely, beautiful forest. And that. She was thinking like that. But how could I arrange this? Just like we sing, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Radha and Krishna, they're the most happy when they're in the kunj together. So Kaikeyi was thinking like that. And then she was thinking, but how could I bring this about? And then she got some idea. Oh, I know what I could do. There's one thing that I could do to solve this problem, so that Sita and Ram can live together in a very beautiful, sweet way, without all this protocol in the palace and things. But she thought, if I do this, everyone's going to hate me forever. And if I do this, my husband will die. But Kaikeyi's love for Lord Ramachandra was so great that she didn't even care. Let me be criticized forever and ever, and let my own husband die. But Sita and Ram should come together. In a similar way, our Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas have described that of all the different moods of worship of Radha and Krishna, the topmost mood is that mood of the young gopis who are known as manjaris, who bring Radha and Krishna together. That's their desire. Kaikeyi had a similar desire, and the heck with anything else. And so through Manthara preached to her something, and Kaikeyi agreed to this thing. And because of this, Ram and Lakshman were banished to the forest, and Sita went with him. Kaikeyi knew that Sita would insist on going with Ramachandra. And that was the death of Maharaj Dasarath. And she knew that was going to happen. So Lord Ramachandra went to the forest, and sometimes it's painted as a very difficult, austere thing. But Sita later on, she remembered that was the most wonderful, happy time in her life, because she was able to be alone with Ramachandra, and their love was able to blossom. And so many, many different pastimes took place in the forest, and later when Ramachandra was fighting against Ravan. We'll just touch on a few purports of some of them that you may not be so aware of. There's a beautiful song that my Guru Maharaj used to sing in Oriya language, speaking about Ram Leela, and how when Lord Ramachandra had to cross the Sarayu, there was a boatman. And Lord Ramachandra, he called for the boatman, come, I want to cross the river. And the boatman ignored him. And Lord Ramachandra, he's the king, he said, hey, come. And the boatman ignored him. And Lord Ramachandra went to him and said, look, well, what's your problem? I'm calling for you, this is your job, you should come, I'm the king. And that boatman said, I know you're calling. He said, but I don't want you to come on my boat. Why don't you want me to come on your boat? He says, because I have enough troubles in my life. He said, I've heard about you, that you're so powerful that while you were in the forest, you touched with your foot Aholya, who'd been cursed to become a stone. And when you touched that stone, Aholya, she became a living woman again. And the boatman said, look, I have this problem. If you come into my boat and you touch some stone or something and some other women come about, then it's going to be a big problem in my life. Because I already have one wife, and it's difficult enough to take care of one wife. If I have some other wives, and it's going to be very, very hard. So he said, I'll let you in my boat, but you have to agree to let me wash your feet very well, so there's no dust or anything on your feet. The boatman's very intelligent. He's a devotee. So he washed Lord Ramachandra's feet very well and said, now you can come on the boat. And so Ramachandra was taken across the river by this boatman. And then Lord Ram asked him, he said, so what fee do you need? I want to pay. And the boatman said, no, no, there's no charge for you. And Lord Ramachandra said, look, I'm a Kshatriya, and we can't accept that. I have to pay something to you. What would you like as remuneration? And the boatman said, no. He said, it's our tradition amongst the boatmen that if another boatman comes, we don't charge him anything, we take him across. And you're also a boatman. I'm taking the people across the Sarayu River, but you take people over the ocean of birth and death in that boat. So I'm taking you across free right now. You just remember me when I leave my body. And then if you want to reciprocate with me, you can take me across that ocean of birth and death at that time. That boatman was a very, very great devotee of the Lord. So many different pastimes are there. There's one story in the Adi Purana that I found very interesting, that Arjuna, during his Tirtha Yatra, he went all over India, and he finally came to Rameshwaram. And when Arjuna was standing there at Cape Comorin, looking out over the ocean to Lanka, he was thinking to himself that, how is it that Lord Ramachandra had to take help from some monkeys to build a bridge? I thought Ramachandra was a great archer. Any archer, any great archer could make a bridge out of arrows to Lanka. What's the necessity of taking help from so many monkeys? As he spoke that, there happened to be one small monkey there listening. And that monkey took a little offense on behalf of all of his ancestors. And he said, those monkeys were not ordinary monkeys. They were very, very powerful monkeys. And the bridge couldn't bear the weight underneath them. And Arjuna said, how is that? He said, even myself, I'm nothing compared to Ramachandra. But even I could make a bridge out of arrows that these monkeys could walk across. And that little monkey said, I challenge you. He said, you do it. But your bridge won't even bear the weight of me, and I'm just a little monkey. And so then Arjuna, he made a vow in front of the fire. He said, if I can't make a bridge that this monkey can cross over, then I'll commit suicide, I'll jump into the fire. And so then he took his arrows, and his bow, and he shot so many arrows, and he, just in the span of a moment, made a bridge to Lanka out of arrows. And the monkey reached out, he put one little toe on that bridge, and immediately the bridge fell to pieces. Arjuna was taken aback. He said, okay, let me do it again. So again, he made another bridge, this time a little stronger. And this time the monkey put one foot out there, and he pushed a little bit, and again the bridge collapsed. And so then Arjuna, he said, well, I've made this promise. I'll kill myself if I can't build this bridge strong enough for this monkey to cross. So he built a fire, and he was getting ready to jump into the fire. At that time, a young Brahmin boy arrived there at that place. And the young Brahmin boy, he said, my dear sir, please stop. What are you doing? He said, I can see by all the symptoms on your body, your physiognomy, that you're a great exalted personality. How is it you're doing such an ignoble thing to commit suicide? This is very bad. You shouldn't do this. And Arjuna, then he explained the whole thing to that young Brahmin boy. And then the Brahmin, he told him, he said, I know Smriti Shastra, I know Shastra about rituals and ceremonies. He said, when you made this vow, did you make the vow in front of a Brahmin? In the presence of a Brahmin? Arjuna said, no, I just made the vow myself. And that young Brahmin boy said, well, then it's not a proper vow. You should make the vow again in front of me, and then you do it. And Arjuna, he agreed with the words of the Brahmin. And then again, he made a bridge out of arrows. And again, that monkey stepped out onto the bridge. But this time, the monkey put both feet on the bridge, and the bridge was holding up. The monkey started jumping up and down on the bridge, and the bridge held up. And then an amazing thing happened. Suddenly that monkey started growing. Huge, giant size. Taller than your house. And that monkey started stomping on that bridge, and the bridge held. And then suddenly both Arjuna and that monkey had the same realization. And they turned to that young Brahmin boy, and Arjuna fell down on the ground. He said, Krishna. And that monkey, who's actually Hanuman, fell down on the ground and said, Ram. And that young Brahmin boy was the Supreme Lord, who had appeared on behalf of his devotee. So Ram Lila is Krishna Lila. Don't think that there's some difference between the two. It's just that Krishna is more complete Lila. Srila Rupa Goswami has described different manifestations of the Lord. Avesh is some personality has some potency of the Lord, like Narad Muni, and Prabhav and Vaibhav incarnations have a little more potency. But the most powerful incarnations are known as Paravashta. And the Paravashta includes Ramachandra, Lord Nrsingadev, and Krishna. And Krishna is the source of all of them. But he says that Lord Nrsingadev even, he could have performed Ras Lila, except it probably would have scared the gopis a lot. But he's fully, he's complete in terms of power. But Krishna has four things that they don't have. His Venu Madhuri, the sweetness of his flute, his Rupa Madhuri, his Lila Madhuri, and his Bhakta Madhuri, the sweetness of his devotees. Ramachandra and Nrsingadev don't have these things. But otherwise, they're also fully complete manifestations of the personality of Godhead. In another book called Mathura Vijay by Bhakta Kavi Gopal Krishna, devotee in the line of Shyamananda Prabhu, very nice, wonderful book in a real language. We hope to translate this someday. He describes Krishna Lila, and when Krishna was being taken away from Braj by Akrura, that the gopis arrived there and they began crying. And they said, we've heard about you, Krishna. We've heard from Gargamuni that in your previous birth you were Ramachandra. But you're not the same as Ramachandra. Ramachandra was better than you. Just like Ramachandra, you're leaving Braj. And like Ramachandra left Ayodhya with Lakshman, so you're also leaving with Balaram. But Ram was better than you, because Ram left with Sita. And you should take at least one of these gopis with you, indicating you should take at least Srimati Radharani with you. And they said, we've heard about you in Ram Lila. You were very, very bad. That you stood behind a tree like a hunter, and you shot Bali in the back with an arrow, and you killed him. It was very bad. He said, but now in this Leela, you're much, much worse than Ramachandra, because in Ram Leela you killed one Bali. Well, Bali in Sanskrit also means a young girl. But now you're about to kill so many Balis, so many young girls. So don't do this. Right? So there's no difference. We see a connection between Ram Leela and Krishna Leela, but we consider that Krishna, he's Avatari, he's Swayam Rup Govinda, he's the source of all different incarnations. And we worship Krishna in an exclusive way. And we don't take shelter of Ramachandra. But when we see Ramachandra, we think, oh, this is a manifestation of my Krishna. This is Krishna's form of his fighting energy. So Ramachandra, he went to the forest with Lakshman and Sita. And Ravan came and kidnapped Sita and took her away to Lanka. And Ramachandra was lamenting. So also in Krishna Leela, there's also separation between Radha and Krishna. But the separation in Krishna Leela is sweeter, because it's more natural. Whereas in Ram Leela, Sita's been kidnapped by Ravan. So Ramachandra was feeling so much lamentation, he was crying and crying. It's said that on one occasion, Lord Shiva, he was meditating very deeply on Lord Ram, and chanting Ram, Ram, Ram. And his wife, Sati, she saw, my dear husband, who are you meditating on? Who is this Ram? And Lord Shiva told her, oh, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Sati, I'd like to go and see him. And Lord Shiva looked at her and he said, you can go, but you be careful, because sometimes she causes little trouble. You can go, but you be careful, because Lord Ram He's the Supreme Personality of God. Yes, yes, I'll go. And so she went and she saw that Lord Ramachandra was crying and crying, Ha Sita, Ha Sita. And Sati was thinking to herself, how is this the Supreme Personality of Godhead? He's just an attached man. He's attached to his wife and he's crying like anything for her. How is he the Supreme Lord? No, this can't be. So then she thought, let me test him. So then Sati manifested the form of Sita. And she came to Lord Ramachandra and she was smiling and she had, everything was perfect. The dress and the smile and the looks, everything. She looked exactly like Sita. But Lord Ramachandra looked at her and he said, Sati, what are you doing here? Where's your husband? And when Sati heard that, she became very frightened and she ran away. And she went back to her husband, Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva said, so how did it go with Lord Ram? She said, oh, I had my darshan. He's very, very powerful. It was very wonderful. Anything else happen? No. That was it, because she didn't want to get in trouble. Right? She disobeyed her husband. So, but Lord Shiva, he's Trikalagya. He knows everything. And he understood, oh, my wife has done a very bad thing. That you appeared like this to try to trick Lord Ramachandra. And so then he told her, henceforth, I can no longer touch you. Because you've taken the form of my worshipable Sita. I can't touch you anymore. I heard a similar story some years ago about a Brijbasi boy who got married to a girl, and was common up until 50 years ago, even in India, maybe still today in some of the rural places. The husband and wife, they met each other at the wedding. And there was a big wedding ceremony, and all the family and friends were partying and doing so many things. And finally, in the evening, the young couple were alone together for the first time they'd ever talked alone together. And the boy was looking at his new wife, and he said, you know, you look very familiar. I've seen you somewhere before. And she said, no, my father always protected me. He never I never talked to any boys, nothing. I was always kept, but the husband said, no, I'm sure I've seen you somewhere before. How is it possible? And she said, well, one time, it's a true story, one time I was playing Radharani in a drama. And maybe you saw that drama. He said, that was it. I saw that drama. And then on their wedding night, that boy was a devotee. He said, I can't touch you now. Because you took the form of my worshipable goddess, Srimati Radharani. So now, henceforth, I have to serve you. And she had a very good marriage. Her husband did all the laundry after that. And he would cook for her. He wouldn't accept any services from her at all. Because he said, you've taken that form as Radharani. People have such a conception like that. And so similarly, Lord Shiva, he told Sati, I can't touch you. And when you took the form of my worshipable Sita. And for this reason, in Sati, she committed suicide to get another body. External reason is there, the Bahiranga Karan. There's an Antaranga Karan and a Bahiranga Karan. The internal reason is this. The external reason is because her father was a Badmas, Daksha, and he committed some offense to Lord Shiva. The internal reason was because of this thing in Ram Leela. So, Lord Ramachandra, Sita was kidnapped, and he made some friendship with Sugriv and his minister Hanuman. And Sugriv promised, I'm going to go and I'll search out Sita and I'll find Sita for you. But then the rainy season started. And the rainy season in those days in India, you can't move because now you just take a plane or you go take a train or you drive a car on a cement road. But in those days, everything was mud. And no one could move anywhere for 4 months, is what to speak if you have a big army. So Sugriv had just regained the kingdom. His brother Bali had been killed by Lord Ram, and he got the kingdom back. And he told him, so okay, so after the rainy season's over, then I'll come back and we'll go and we'll search for Sita. So for 4 months of the rainy season, Lord Ramachandra was crying and crying. And Lakshman was watching all this, and it was a great pain in his heart. But for the same period of time, Sugriv was having a big party. That's a very good life now. I got all the girls that I want, all the beautiful monkey girls, and I can drink as much as I want, and he wasn't following any principles. Maybe he was vegetarian, I don't know. But he wasn't practically following any regulated principles. He was breaking all kinds of things. And he was so intoxicated, both by this liquor that he was drinking and by the association of the young, beautiful monkey girls, that he overlooked the fact that the 4 months had passed. And Lord Ram, meanwhile, was waiting and waiting. The rainy season was over. And he's asking Lakshman, where is Sugriv? What's going on? Lord Ramachandra can tolerate, but Lakshman, he has a bad temper. So Lakshman became very angry. What is this Badmas rascal doing? I'm going to go and fix him. So Lakshman went there, and he saw that Sugriv, he asked, where's Sugriv? Oh, Sugriv's busy, he's with all the girls, and he's drinking right now. And Lakshman became furious. And how dare he do this? Well, Ramachandra is suffering and crying. He's over there enjoying. So he took his bow, and he twanged his bow, and the whole country began to shake. And then Sugriv had an attitude adjustment. He realized, oh, I made a big mistake. And he came back and he fell flat at the feet of Lakshman and begged forgiveness. And Lakshman took him to Ramachandra, and Ramachandra said, anyway, it's okay. You go now and you find Sita. I always found that story very, very attractive. Because just as Lord Ramachandra had his monkeys, Prabhupada one time he said, Lord Ram had his monkey soldiers, and I have my monkey disciples. I can't comment on Srila Prabhupada's disciples, but I'm certainly like a monkey of my Guru Maharaj. And like Sugriv, sometimes we make mistakes. But Sugriv, one thing about him, he was always dedicated to Lord Ram. He was an epitome of the verse we read in the Gita, Apichet Sudaracharo Bhajate Mamananyabha. Although he was a Durachari sadhu, he was a sadhu. He was a sadhu because Bhajate Mamananyabha. He was taking shelter of Lord Ram. He wasn't taking shelter of karma, jnana, yoga, or anything else. But he was a Durachari. His achara, his behavior was Durachara, was very, very bad. But Lord Ramachandra forgot that, forgave it, because he was a devotee. And so they searched and searched, and it's a long story, as you know. And they finally found Sita, and Hanuman went to see Sita. It's said that when Hanuman went to Lanka, so many things happened. He was searching through the house of Ravan, and he saw so many beautiful girls, and he was thinking, could this be Sita? He said, no, Sita's not going to be intoxicated like these girls. Sita's not going to be enjoying herself like these girls. And he searched and searched and searched and couldn't find anything. And then he became depressed. He thought, better I kill myself. I've not been able to find Sita. But then he thought, there's one place I didn't go to search, and that was the Ashok Grove, this garden. And so he went there and he found Sita, was fasting and crying. Her hair was untied. And she was just sitting there crying and crying, being tortured by these Rakshasis. And you know this story, that Hanuman spoke to her and gave her the ring of Lord Ramachandra and convinced her that actually he was sent by Lord Ram. And then after he took some jewelry from Sita to take back to Lord Ram, then Hanuman thought, well, let me do something for my Lord now. And so he began to break things there in the Ashok Grove. And there was a big fight. They sent 80,000 Rakshasas, and Hanuman killed all of them with his bare hands. Many times we see pictures of Hanuman with a club, but it's not mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana that Hanuman had a club. He killed all those Rakshasas with his bare hands, or he tore up trees and killed them. It's very interesting to me, when Lord Ramachandra fought with Karan Dushan, there's 18,000 Rakshasas, and he sent Lakshman to a cave with Sita to protect her. And then Lord Ramachandra took his bow and arrows and he killed 18,000 Rakshasas. But Hanuman did even greater than Ram. He killed 80,000 Rakshasas, and he had no bow and arrow. And this way the Lord always glorifies his devotee as being supreme. And then we know that Hanuman was captured by Ravan, that Hanuman decided, let me see this Ravan, and he gives some message to him. And so he accepted the Brahmastra weapon of Lord Brahma, and he was tied up by that thing. And so they brought him before Ravan, and he gave some very strong message to Ravan that, look, you wake up, you let Sita go right now, or you're going to be in big, big trouble. And Ravan became furious, and he decided they would torture Hanuman. You know the story. So they lit his tail on fire. And then Hanuman decided, enough's enough. So he very easily broke free of his bonds. And then he began to light all of Lanka on fire. And the whole city was burning down. And then at that time, Hanuman thought, oh my God, what did I do? I'm just a monkey. I forgot all about Sita. And now Sita's died in the fire. There's no way she could have survived. And he thought, what an idiot I am. But he thought, anyway, let me go and see and make sure. And so he went to the Ashok Grove and he found that Sita was perfectly fine. She was there. But when Hanuman arrived there, Sita noticed that Hanuman looked depressed. And Sita asked him, why are you looking unhappy? And Hanuman said, well, the thing is this, that during this big fire, my face became black from all the soot. And now I have to go back, and you don't know the nature of monkeys. When everybody sees that I have a black face, they're all going to laugh at me and make fun of me. When Sita heard that, she said, anyway, I give you a benediction, that everyone in your race henceforth will have a black face. And this is why those Hanuman monkeys, you see that they have black faces because of the benediction of Sita. And so then Hanuman returned and gave that message to Lord Ramachandra. And Lord Ramachandra famously embraced him to his chest and told Hanuman that you're the best of servants. And then they went to Cape Comorin, to Rameshwaram, and they were just deciding how we're going to go across. And famously Lord Ramachandra was telling the ocean to part the way. And the ocean god came and said, look, I can do this, but it won't be glorious for you. Rather, you should make a bridge and show your prowess by this. And so then they were trying to figure out how to make a bridge. And Nila came up with this suggestion. He said, we should put Ram Nam, the name of Ram, on the stones, and they'll float. And so they started writing the name of Lord Ram on the stones and throwing the stone in the ocean. And indeed, the stones were all floating. And Ramachandra was watching that. And Ramachandra, he thought, that's pretty cool. Let me try that. So he went a little ways away from everyone else and he wrote his name, Ram, on the stone. Nobody's looking. He threw the stone in the water and immediately the stone sank. No one was there watching, but Hanuman was sneaking behind. He was watching Lord Ramachandra. And Lord Ram did this several times, and each time he wrote Ram on the stone and threw it in the ocean. Each time the stone sank. And he couldn't figure it out. And at that time Hanuman came there, and Lord Ram asked him, he said, how is it, under the guidance of Nila, all the monkeys are writing my name on the stones and throwing them in the ocean, and all those stones float. But when I write my name on it and throw it in the ocean, it just sinks. How is this? And Hanuman told him, he said, my dear Lord, your name can carry everyone across the ocean of birth and death. But whatever you reject, whatever is disassociated with you, even if it's your name, that thing will sink in the ocean of birth and death. And so because you're throwing these stones away, this thing has happened. So Lord Ramachandra, they built this amazing bridge across the ocean, and they went there. And meanwhile, when Vibhishan heard that Lord Ramachandra had come across, he was sent by his mother. His mother's name is Nikasha. Nikasha, she told Vibhishan, you should go and speak to your older brother, Ravan. Tell him that this is so foolish that he should surrender Sita and offer respects to Ramachandra. And so Vibhishan entered into the court of Ravan, and he began to preach to Ravan, telling him, my dear, in a sweet way, also, my dear Ravan, you're my older brother, you're very great, you're so intelligent, please accept these wise words that I have to offer to you, that you should return Sita to Ramachandra. And at that time, Malyavan, who was one of the leaders of Ravan's army, he spoke up on behalf of Vibhishan. He said, what Vibhishan is saying is true. Ramachandra is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and you should return Sita to him. And then Ravan just became very angry and started shouting down Malyavan. So Malyavan just left the assembly. And then Prahasta in Trisira, they began to speak in a way to please Ravan. They're what we call sycophants, or what's the phrase in Hindi? Someone's a chela. They're chelas of Ravan. And they're just telling Ravan whatever he wants to hear. And they said, who are these guys? Are monkeys. We fought against the demigods and defeated them. And now an army of monkeys is going to come, and this Vibhishan is telling you that you have to worry about the monkeys? Ha! We eat monkeys for dinner. What is this? So Ravan, he liked very much what these rascals were telling him. And then Vibhishan, he came to Ravan and he fell down and he put his head on Ravan's feet. And he prayed, he said, my dear brother, I beg you, please, return Sita to Ram. Otherwise, I can foresee you will be destroyed. And all of our Rakshasa dynasty will be destroyed. And Ravan became so furious then, he did a very, very bad thing. He kicked Vibhishan. And then Vibhishan was so humble. And Vibhishan told him, my dear brother Ravan, you're just like my father. You care about me. And you've kicked me. That's very good. I deserve to be kicked. But I'm coming to you with good advice. And if someone comes to you with very good advice and you don't listen to that person, then we can understand that their lifespan is over soon. So I'm leaving. And so then he left. And Vibhishan went to see Kubera. And when he arrived there, Lord Shiva was also there. And Vibhishan at that time had a doubt. He thought that it's not good. How can you leave your brother? It's a very bad thing. I should be faithful to my brother. And so he told this to Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva told him no, that Ramachandra is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And any time is a good time to take shelter of him. And meanwhile, the Devatas, they were very, very happy. When the Devatas saw that Ravan had kicked Vibhishan, they said, yes, now we know Ravan is finished very soon, because he's committed Vaishnava aparad. A very good lesson for us. As soon as he committed that Vaishnava aparad, all the Devatas became very happy, because they knew now Ravan is going to be destroyed very, very quickly. And they began to sing and they began to dance. And so many things happened in that battle. And we know that finally, Lord Ramachandra, he fought with Ravan and he killed him. But it's very interesting, that discussion. It said that Ramachandra was shooting so many arrows. Ravan had 10 heads. And every time Ramachandra would shoot an arrow, it would cut off one of the heads of Ravan, and then another head would come back. And then Ramachandra would shoot another arrow, cut off that head, and then another head would come back. And this was going on for all day long. And then finally, Lord Ramachandra reached for a special Shakti arrow that he had. And he shot Ravan in the heart and killed him. Now a question comes. Why didn't he just do that in the first place? What's the necessity of all the drama? Cutting off all these heads of Ravan. Why didn't he just take the first arrow and just shoot Ravan in the heart immediately? What was the necessity of all that drama? So in one commentary on the Ramayana, the sage Madhavananda Muni, who was a follower of Ramanujacharya, is one of the main acharyas in their line, he wrote some commentary and he said that Ramachandra couldn't kill Ravan at that time. Why is it that he couldn't kill Ravan at that time? Because he knew who was in the heart of Ravan. See, Ravan was meditating on Sita. And Madhavananda Muni explains also that Ramachandra had to pick a time when Sita wasn't present, because Sita is the Karuna Shakti of the Lord. She's so merciful. She's more merciful than the Lord himself. And she would have told him, no, don't do that. Don't kill him. You should forgive him. And Ramachandra would have had to forgive him, Ravan. In the same way that Krishna, he controls that Karuna Shakti with his Icha Shakti, his desire potency. And he hides, like in Krishna Lila, he hides Radharani. Very, very few people know about Radharani and the Brijbasis in Krishna Lila. Because Radharani is so very, very merciful, anyone who would come to her, Krishna would feel obliged to give the highest mercy to them. But in Gora Lila, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes, he's Krishna, but Radha Bhava Duti Sivali Tam Nomi Krishna Sarupam. He's Krishna, but he's in the mood of Radha. Radharani's mood, her bhav, and her kanti, her complexion, were covering Krishna. At that time, that Icha Shakti no longer controls the Karuna Shakti. And therefore we say that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Mahavadanyaya avatar. He's the most merciful. Because he's Bhakta-rupa. And for this reason, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and our acharyas forbade devotees from putting a flute or the symbols of Krishna or decorating Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in that way, because he's more merciful as a devotee. He's more merciful when he's in the mood of Srimati Radharani. And so we see this in this pastime with Ramachandra and Ravan. He couldn't tolerate shooting. How could he shoot an arrow into the heart of Ravan when he knew who was in the heart of Ravan? Sita's in the heart of Ravan. And so what did he do? He started cutting off Ravan's heads, one after another, after another. Now, if you had your head cut off a dozen times or so, it would probably disturb you a lot, wouldn't it? Yeah. So after some time, Ravan became really disturbed by that. And he forgot all about Sita. And as soon as he forgot about Sita, then Ram said, yes, now is the time. And he took that Shakti arrow, and then he shot Ravan in the heart with it. So many, many different pastimes are there. Another pastime is there is very interesting that when, I won't tell this today, but on their return back to Ayodhya, they stopped in a place called Rimuna. It was named Ramaniyam by Lord Ramachandra. So in Orissa. And Lord Ramachandra made a river for Sita. It's a long story in connection with Ramdev. I won't go in that direction now. But I'd like to finish with one story from the Padma Purana. That we know that when Ram and Sita returned to Ayodhya, everyone was very, very happy. And Lord Ramachandra, he tested Sita because he knew that people were going to criticize. And so he called for Lakshman and told him, you make a fire and take Sita and put her in the fire. Lakshman was not very happy about that. But he couldn't refuse Lord Ramachandra, because Lord Ramachandra is Dauji, he's an older brother, and he has to do whatever the older brother says. Sometimes it's a little hard to listen to the older brother. Yeah, I know. I had two younger brothers, and I tortured them. It was really bad. He had Agni, he had this Agni Parikshit, this test of Agni. And Agni brought out the real Sita. That's another story we know from Chaitanya Charitamrita. There was a false Sita taken away by Ravan, and the real Sita was returned at that time by Agni Dev. And Vayu also came and said, no, I've seen Sita was completely chaste. So Lord Ramachandra accepted it. And why did he insist on that test? He's Sarvagya, he knows everything. But he insisted on that test because he's Maryada Purushottam. Krishna is Lila Purushottam, Gauranga Mahaprabhu is Prema Purushottam, and Ramachandra, he's Maryada Purushottam. He's the embodiment of Veda Maryada, or Vedic etiquette. He's the ideal king, the ideal son, the ideal husband. He's ideal in every respect. And as the ideal king, he had more responsibility to the citizens than he had even to his own wife. That's a king. They have to show more allegiance to the people than they do even to their own family members. And so he had to have this test so that people could accept Sita. But then when Sita returned to Ayodhya, Lord Ramachandra at one point he said, I'm going to go in disguise because I want to hear what the people are saying. And he went, and he happened to go to the house of one washerman. And that washerman, his wife came home very late at night, and the washerman started chastising her, get out, I'm not going to accept you. You've come back so late, now you're no longer chaste. He said, don't think I'm a wimp like Ramachandra. I'm some weak kind of person like Ramachandra that just so he accepted Sita back so quickly. But I'm not a wimp like him. And Ramachandra heard that. Ooh. And he realized, he became very, very sober. And he came back to the palace and he called for Lakshman and said, Lakshman, there's something I want you to do. I want you to take Sita to the forest tomorrow. And tell her you're going there for a picnic. Tell her that I'm coming a little bit afterwards. And then I want you to leave her in the forest and return without her. I want you to exile Sita. And Lakshman was horrified. Better that I die. I can't do that. But he had no choice, because Ramachandra was a big brother. Whatever the big brother says, the younger brother has to do. Is that right? Yes? No comment. Okay.
From now onwards.
So, but Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he describes that after that, whatever incarnation he came in again, he always came as the older brother. He said, forget this younger brother stuff. It's too painful. So in his next incarnation he came as Balaram, and then after that he came as Nityananda, so that he could serve Krishna, he could serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but he didn't have to do all those painful, terrible things, especially putting Sita into exile. And so Sita was sent away in exile. And the question comes, how is this that this came about? We printed an interesting story about this that I'd like to share with you in one of our Bindu magazines. It was issue 157, Krishna magazine, Bindu. And it's a story from the Padma Purana. And it's described there that Sita, once she was in the forest, and she came across two parrots. And these parrots were so very, very beautiful. And they were speaking like human beings. And she was very charmed. This was when Sita was a young girl, before she'd ever met Lord Ramachandra. And she heard these two parrots speaking, and they were speaking about this beautiful, beautiful man named Ram. And Sita became so charmed with those two parrots, she captured those parrots. And she took them back to her ashram. And Sita, she said, I want to hear you over and over again. And those parrots were very disturbed. They said that, no, you please let us go. And Sita said, where did you hear all this? They said, we came from some ashram of a rishi named Valmiki Muni. And we know from Ramayana that Valmiki Muni was writing Ram Lila before it actually even happened. Because Ram Lila is eternal. And sometimes it happens in little different ways in different Divya Yugas, our acharyas have described. And so they were speaking all about Ram, and they were speaking about this wonderful girl whose name was Janaki. And her name was also Sita. And all the different pastimes and how he'll come, Lord Ramachandra, and he'll break the bow.
So you'll only be able to make phone calls.
And he'll marry Sita. And when she heard all these things, Sita, she told that bird, those two birds, where will that Ram be? How is he going to marry his consort? Please tell me all these things. And so, when that female parrot saw Janaki, the female parrot, she said, there's going to be an intelligent, mighty king with thousands of chariots, and he's going to have 4 very powerful sons, the oldest of whom is Ramachandra, and he'll come and he's going to marry Sita, and he's going to be so very, very beautiful. And she described, the female parrot described the form of Ramachandra and said, how can I describe his beauty? Even with 100 mouths, one can't describe such power he has, and such valor, and such honesty, and such good character. He's a topmost personality. And so then that parrot, the female parrot, asked Sita, please tell me, what is your name, and why are you asking me to tell this story about Ram? So then Sita, she told him that I'm that Janaki, I'm the daughter of Janak Maharaj that you're mentioning, and hearing all your sweet words, I'm very charmed. She said, so I'm going to let you go, and when that Ramachandra comes, I'll let you go. But in the meantime, you stay here with me. And when that female parrot heard that, she began shaking. And she said, she was very frightened, and she told Janaki, she said, good lady, she said, we're birds. We live in the forest, and we're very happy. We get to fly wherever we want. We're never bound up in any place. And moreover, I'm pregnant. And she said, I promise you that if you release us, then after I go back and I give birth to my young birds, then I'll come back and we'll speak this Ram Leela to you. And although this parrot, she pleaded with Sita in so many different ways, Sita was so attached to hearing that Ram Leela, she couldn't tolerate, no, I can't let you go. And then the male parrot, he was very, very unhappy. And he spoke to her, he said, Sita, you should let her go. Why do you want to keep my beautiful wife? We're a couple together. We live in the forest together. And moreover, my wife is pregnant. After she gives birth to her babies, then I'll come back to you also. And then Sita, she told that male parrot, she said, look, I'll let you go, but I like the female parrot. I'll keep her with me. She's so dear to me, I'll keep her by my side. And then that male parrot, he said to her that the words of the saints are true. And they've advised that wise persons should be silent. If we had not been speaking to each other while on this tree, all this Ram Leela things, then you wouldn't have caught us. And he said, Sita, I can't live without my wife. So please, I beg you, release her. But Sita was so attached to that katha. She said, no, I'll hold on to her, and after I meet this Ram, then I'll let her go. And so then the parrot's wife, she became angry and miserable, and she cursed Janaki, Sita. And she said, just as you're separating me from my husband when I'm pregnant, in the same way I curse you. When you get pregnant, you're going to be separated from your husband. And you're going to suffer in the same way that I'm suffering. And so, at that time, that female parrot was very miserable from separation from her husband. And she said one word, she said, Ram. And she left her body. And then a chariot came down and took her away. And then her husband was really, really unhappy. My wife has died because of what you did. So then the husband fell into the Ganga and drowned himself. And his last words to Sita were, I'm going to take birth in Ram's city as a Sudra. And due to my words, Sita is going to be very unhappy and she's going to become separated from Ramachandra. And so that male parrot took birth as a washerman named Krodan in the Ayodhya. And it was due to his harsh words that Lord Ramachandra banished Sita to the forest. So these are some little things about Ram Leela. We should observe these days. Why do we observe this? Because Madhavatiti Bhakti Janani. This is Madhavatiti. This is a day of Krishna. This is a day of Ramachandra. And by observing these days, we get bhakti. We chant the name of Lord Ram, but better than chanting the name of Ram is to chant the name of Krishna. And as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we worship Ramachandra, not in the same way that the Ram Bhaktas worship him. But we worship him saying that this is part of Krishna's mood. And we ask some benediction, my dear Lord Ram, please give me bhakti to Krishna, to Radha and Krishna. And so we observe this day in that mood. So we'll stop there. Does anybody have any reflections about these topics today? Anything that you heard that you liked, you to keep with you? Because by repeating it, it stays with you. As Prabhuji was saying last night. Any comments or reflections or anything from anybody? It's also encouraging to me. It lets me know if somebody who stayed awake during the katha.
I stayed awake, Prabhu, and I thank you.
My favorite Hare Krishna Prabhuji, my favorite verses in Bhagavad Gita is of all the wilder of weapons, I am Lord Ram, and your that shooting of Lord Ram, not Lord Ram, shooting of the Ravan of his heads and how he waited for disappearance of Sita Devi was very beautiful. And that really connected me to the Gita verse and how Lord Ram, when he releases the arrow, it's probably one of the most beautiful things to see.
Sometimes devotees, they have some misunderstanding. They think, oh, we don't like Ram, we only like Krishna. I'm very elevated, I only like Radha Krishna and that. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he worshipped Lord Ramachandra. He worshipped Matsya and Kurma, different deities in Sringadev, different places that he saw, and he felt great, great happiness. But he would pray to them, please, give me darshan of Krishna. Please give me Krishna Bhakti.
What is the relationship between Lord Vishnu and Lord Krishna?
Between Vishnu and Krishna. Vishnu is an expansion of Krishna. And he's, what was it? Do you remember Krishna consciousness? 78%, is that right? Or is it 96%? I think it's 96%. Vishnu is 96%. Krishna is 100%. He has 4 qualities that Vishnu doesn't have. And sometimes people, they say that actually Krishna is an incarnation of Vishnu. And to cite that, Rupa Goswami gives a long discussion about this in his important book, Laghu Bhagavatamrita. They cite the Mahabharata, that Lord Vishnu, Mahavishnu, took a black hair and a white hair from his head and threw them down on the ground. The black hair became Krishna and the white hair became Balaram. And they say, so this is proof that Krishna, that Vishnu is the source of everyone, and Krishna is just a manifestation of Vishnu. But we don't accept that, first of all, on the basis of the Bhagavatam, which states that Eti Chamsa Kala Pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. The Krishna is the source of all different incarnations. And Jiva Goswami, in his commentary on that, he gives a very nice explanation. He says that just as the ladies just walk through the doorway here, right? So you may say the doorway is the source of the ladies. The doorway is not the source of those ladies, but the ladies just walk through the doorway. So similarly, some people say that those 2 hairs, or Vishnu, was the source of Krishna, but there's not the source. Those are just the doorway that Krishna and Balaram came through. And we worship Krishna. Gaudiya Vaishnavas worship Krishna because Krishna is the sweetest personality. And this was something which wasn't given in a long, long time. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as Krishna himself, he came to give this Braj Bhav because he's not satisfied. Krishna is not satisfied with love that's mixed with awe and reverence, the kind of love that people offer to Lord Vishnu. So we also worship Lord Vishnu. We see him here. We give great respect to Lord Vishnu. But Krishna is much, much sweeter than Vishnu. Many things can be said. That's a little something. Anything else to say? I could also mention in connection with Vishnu and Krishna, the story that we told about Hanuman and Arjuna is very exemplary in this regard. There's a verse which was either compiled by or included by Narottam Das Thakur in his Prem Bhakti Chandrika. And it says that it's a verse spoken by Hanuman. And he says, Srinate Janaki Nate Chabeda Paramatmani Tatapi Mama Sarvasam Ramakamala Lochana. He says that although Srinath means Lord Narayan. He's the god, the Nata of Sri, of Lakshmi Devi. Srinate, Janaki Nate, and Janaki Nath is Lord Ramachandra. He's the Nath, the Lord of Janaki Devi. Chabeda Paramatmani. They're non-different, Abeda, right? And Paramatmani, they're both the Paramatma. He says, but still, Tatapi Mama Sarvasva Ramakamla Lochana. My Lord and Master is Ramachandra. This is the mood of Hanuman. And then we understand this in our Gaudiya line too. And we see the devotees like Murari Gupta, he was so attached to Ramachandra. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him, you should not worship Ram, you should worship Krishna. Krishna is superior to Ram. And that whole night, he couldn't sleep. And he was becoming so very, very distressed. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw him the next morning, he said, I want to commit suicide. I can't give up my Ramachandra. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at that time embraced him and said, no, you're a real devotee. So we're taught by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his line that we should have our Ishtadev. And as Krishna says in the Gita, Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kuru nandana. We should be very focused on our Ishtadev. And some devotees have as their Ishtadev Lord Ramachandra. Even Anupama, the younger brother of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, he was so attached to Lord Ramachandra he couldn't give him up. Lord Ramachandra is so wonderful, so very, very attractive. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appreciated that. We don't want to disturb anyone's ekantic desire to worship their form of the Lord, but for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we prefer the form of Krishna. Krishna Kun.
You were just saying how Lord Chaitanya appreciated Lord Ramachandra and worshipping him. just reminded me of that verse, which is one of my favorites, Sakadeva Kapandu, that Mahaprabhu is quoting that if someone only once says, my dear Lord, from this day onwards I am yours, from that day on I will always protect that person. So for me this is one of the most significant things.
That verse, she's not explaining it properly, but that verse, when Vibhishan came to Lord Ramachandra, decided I'm going to take shelter of Ramachandra. Ram was still on the other side of the ocean at that time. And some of the monkeys, they caught Vibhishan, and they thought, oh, he's a spy, and they were going to kill him. And Vibhishan came before the Lord and said, no, I'm taking shelter of Ramachandra. And there was a discussion at that time. And Sugriva was saying, this guy is just a bogus guy. He's just saying that he's taking shelter, but he doesn't really mean it. He's Ravan's brother. He should be killed. And Ramachandra spoke this thing, that anyone who's just one time come to me and said, I take shelter of you, I'll always protect that person. Very beautiful. Okay? Should we stop there? As we used to say sometimes at our preaching center we had in Boulder, Colorado at the Sunday Feast program, and now for the part of our philosophy that's the easiest to digest. Mahaprasad. Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Ju Ke Shri Ram Navami Ke Premanandi Hari Hari Mancha Kopya Vischa Sindhu Cha